Good evening everyone, it's Christine here and I'm just popping on to share an idea that I am working on for the Easter table when we have family and friends over on Easter Day. Now you might have seen my earlier video where I created this little clothes peg, wooden clothes peg dolly with a snippet roll as her dress and a tassel as her little hair, but also it creates a little spot where she can be hung up, excuse the pen on my hand. So with my little snippet roll, in case you didn't see the video or want to have another look, it opens out to spell out, and we'll be looking at it in backwards, Emily Rose, which is the name of my niece. And so it's got lots of beautiful bits and pieces on it, and I talked through all those elements as part of the earlier video, so I won't spend too long on it. But just a little taster if you did want to go and check out that video, including I just love the little flower with little beads and then some beautiful vintage embroidery work. So we'll put the doll aside. But I was struggling to think, what will I make for the boys and the men attending our lunch, because I wasn't as sure that they would want a snippet roll doll girl. They could, and they might, and if they did, I can make them one. But I've decided to go with a flag for them, almost like a bit of a flag with a sort of a coat of arms or some symbols that mean something to them. And what I'm using is these little sample-sized pieces of fabric. You can even tell they're a sample because I've had to remove them off the sort of the backing that they were stuck to, so the corners always tend to curl up a little bit, could do with an iron, but they're quite smallish samples. So let's have a look at this one, because that's about the size I've used, about 15.5 centimetres by about 15 centimetres, but lovely cottons, and some are cotton linen mixes. And so what I've done is designed a little flag that can again go on these wooden clothes pegs. Now this is one for my nephew Bailey, and my nephews and niece, they're really into horses. They moved down to farmland a few years back, and they've now got a whole lot of horses, and they love riding them and looking after them. So I thought it would be really nice to include some sort of horse symbols on the pieces for Bailey and for Lachlan, and then for the others I'll be looking to include symbols that are meaningful to them, and then doing slow stitch style stitching. And I'll just bring you in a bit closer so we can just focus in on what's there. Hopefully that won't make you feel too seasick. And hopefully we won't get too many shadows. So to create the horse, what I did was printed out a little horse picture off the internet, and then I placed it onto my fabric and I traced around it with my friction marker just very lightly, and also just drew in where I wanted, for example, the leg sections to come and where I wanted the mane to be, although I freehanded the mane. And then I went round and just using a single strand of embroidery floss that you can see here, I went round and just did a back stitch all the way around to create the outline. And it doesn't even matter where sometimes your back stitch doesn't exactly line up. You want it to almost look like a little drawing. And then after that I arranged this embroidered, again just with back stitch. I had written the letter B on for Bailey, and then I just got other little bits of the same sample fabric and just chopped out little rectangles or squares, or you could do random shapes. Used my pinking shears on the edges of them because the samples already have pinking sheared edges. This one's just got a frayed edging. And then I did a series of decorative stitches to stitch them down. So just a running stitch around that one. Just I used white just on the letter because I didn't want to take away from the embroidery there. I did a brown fly stitch down here, almost like a branch or something. And then just a running stitch across here, and then a series of little crosses. So what I'm planning to do with this is, the piece is bigger, as I mentioned, but I'm going to probably fold it. I'd actually marked on the back where I wanted it, and I'll show you the back as well. So you can see the stitching there, that I did. It's actually relatively neat stitching for me. That's pretty good for me. So I've got a little mark here where I'm going to fold the top down, probably just where that line goes, and you can see the corners just slightly twisting over, which these tend to do, and then I've got a marking somewhere here. I'm going to fold it probably about that line there, and I can always give this an iron if I need to make a more sort of permanent imprint. And then this end, oh, not that end, the end with the horse, I'm going to just fold over the end bit of that, and I might put a pin in. And so what this is going to do is actually going to hide any of the stitching on the back, although I actually don't mind the stitching on the back normally in my stitching, but it's also just going to give it a bit more robustness as well. And then, and I might move you up for this next stage just so we've got a bit more room to play with. Don't need our horsey there. So then with our peg, I'm just going to put the fabric, and it can actually go right up here. The plan is just to sew it down so that it is just joined over on this side. So I'll see if I can get a pin in without poking my finger. So I was planning originally to get to sewing a lot earlier this evening and showing you this, and then hopefully getting a few more done because Easter is fast approaching. But I was busy booking some special surprises for my family from Western Australia when they are visiting for Easter. So I've booked the penguin parade, and we will be going, well, actually they're going to go. I've not booked it for myself, but we'll probably go down for the day and spend it with them before they go to the penguin parade. And I booked them a special family wildlife adventure as part of that, where they go around with a ranger, and then they get front row seats to see the baby little fairy penguins as they come to shore. And then because it's quite a ways out of Melbourne, I've also booked them a family hotel for the evening at a lovely resort there with a pool and everything. So hopefully the kids in the afternoon before they go to their experience, or in the morning before they have to check out, they can have a good play and enjoy the facilities there, jumping pillow things and all sorts of fun things for the kids. And it happens to be my sister-in-law's birthday as well, so it'll be nice to do something special, and that's why we'll probably go down for the day and have a lovely lunch. So that's the plan for the flags. They'll still have this little bit at the bottom where they can be then sat on something and displayed that way. But I just think that's going to be a really lovely little touch for the table, but then something that can be taken home. I think I'll leave the natural wood colour for these, whereas for my little dolls, I had, with this one, I'd painted it white, and I think I'll paint the other ones white. So I think they're going to be lovely for the table. And yeah, give it a go. You might think it's really hard to get such a nicely little created picture, but if you follow my technique, find a picture you want, get it to the size you want, lay it down, draw around it with a marker that you can remove. The friction markers, you can just, usually it's a Pilot pen, you can usually get them at supermarkets, and they go away when they get either an iron over the top, or I just tend to use my hairdryer because it's handiest to me up here and I don't have to then turn the iron on. So give it a go. If you're interested in the other one, in the little doll snippet roll, check out my other video where I share that. And I've got a whole lot more of these to make, so you'll probably get to see another video with the finished product. But it's pretty straightforward. You can do whatever slow stitch with whatever scraps you want, and it's a great way to use little bits of fabric. And what I'll now be doing is just stitching around where we've folded it over and where it joins there, just with a white cotton. Just the one that I used here, that won't sort of show out a lot because I don't want to take away from the other design elements. But again, you could do a more obvious sort of stitchery on that as well. So there you go, in under 10 minutes, a new little fun project. Wouldn't even have to be for Easter. You could do it for birthdays or other occasions, or a little topper on a present, for example. Hope you're all doing well. Have a lovely evening or a lovely day. Bye everyone.